Welcome to Meet the Candidate with your host, Sue Lonnie Madsen. Meet the Candidate is your opportunity to see local candidates and hear about the experiences that have shaped their lives. Meet the Candidate is a nonpartisan community project brought to you by our friends at Greater Spokane Incorporated, Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe, We Vote, and Better Spokane. Now, here's Sue Lonnie.
Okay, well, welcome to Meet the Candidate. My guest for this session is Jessa Lewis, who is running for the 6th Legislative District State Senator position. Welcome, Jessa.
Thank you for having me.
Glad you could be here and we have a chance to get acquainted. Now, you and I have met before, but I'm going to let you start from telling us all where you grew up and went to school.
Excellent. My parents were park rangers that moved here from Ohio, and they were serving up in a Colville Ranger District when Mount St. Helens blew.
Oh, my.
And it trapped them in a cabin, and I ended up coming out 9 months later. So there was a local baby boom due to the ash fall, so I'm an ash baby. But that was the thing, is like I have had Eastern Washington in my blood. Ended up moving to Spokane, had my second birthday here, and my parents still live, or my mom still lives in the house that I had that birthday in. And then with growing up in the area, I was active in everything from cutting timber sales to being a part of 4-H and being very active in school leadership. And then I ended up moving away in order to get better educational opportunities and job opportunities for my daughter and I. So I traveled the state and ended up deciding that while the rest of the state is beautiful, Eastern Washington's home to me. So it's been good to come back. And really excited about the opportunities that this region has.
Well, people always like to hear about young people who move away but come home again.
But that's the thing, is we shouldn't have to move away in order to find economic opportunity. I think there's some real chances to build an economy that truly works for everyone. My daughter's going to be graduating high school before this term of, if elected. Before my first term to be over, my daughter would be moving away and going to college or whatever she decides to do at that time. And I don't want her to have to leave, and I don't want her to have to live somewhere else to have that economic opportunity.
Well, you did move around some, and you acquired, I'm sure, some additional skills and training while you were doing that. What are some of the things that you've picked up in your life?
So my bachelor's degree was from the Evergreen State College, where I studied sustainable resource management and energy policy. And while I was there, I worked at Joint Base Lewis McChord, working on energy security with the troops. And it was amazing how something that's seen as typically left actually had, as far as like energy conservation, actually served a vital role in troop readiness with the base there. And I think that there's some opportunities there to overcome what may be a divided messaging and actually find solutions that benefit everyone. After that, I went and got my master's degree in business because I really saw money being the leverage tool to actually help our communities.
Okay. There's another kind of education comes from travel, and not just as you're working, but from other kinds of travel, and you get some insights into home. What is there some particular incident that sticks in your mind in educational travel?
So before I came to Evergreen, I was at Western, and I converted my old Mercedes that had 500,000 miles on it to run on waste vegetable oil. So my daughter and I did a 13,000-mile trip across country in 2008. And when you're stopping every 25 miles to ask for oil, it's amazing the conversations you have and how you really get to understand what's happening. And speaking to ranchers in Nebraska, to fishermen in Portland, Maine, and hearing how they're really struggling under this economy and what's happening to working folks in this country, and how people are less interested in left versus right and more, how do we actually survive? And hearing that it's less of who's in office and more who's going to help me was really a transformational moment for me to actually understand how I could potentially serve as a public servant.
Well, you've been working on some issues. I know that because that's where we met, was in a discussion over healthcare issues. But what is it that prompted you to run for public office? Not everybody looks at the problems and says, "Oh, well, pick me. I'll stick my foot in the door."
Part of it came from oftentimes with women, we have to be asked multiple times to run, and sometimes it takes that external validation that no, you have the skills that it takes. But honestly, it comes from a deep heart of service. You know, I'm talking to people right now, and I've been hearing a lot of frustration on elected officials not being available, not taking their constituents' questions, and not representing their interests. And I think that's something that if you're going to run for office, you need to run to represent everybody, not just the people that maybe you agree with. Because I think there's solutions that can be found when you listen to people across the spectrum. And that's part of the work I did with healthcare, is I wanted to make sure that we found solutions that work for everyone across the state, because when you have the red side of the state being more conservative and the blue side of the state being more liberal, the needs of people in rural communities is very different from those in cities. And if you have the votes on one side, that doesn't mean you're necessarily helping everybody. And that's why I appreciated the chance to speak with you so much, was because I think we're getting to a point of where we can find solutions that actually work for everyone.
Okay. We're coming up on that last question. You get to make your pitch to the voters. How do you see the duties of this elected office, and why should voters choose you?
That's the thing, is we need to be able to work with everyone and represent everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, independent, conservative. You need to have representatives that are actually representing your needs. And what I'm hearing across the district is concerns about the water drinkability in West Plains, about sufficient school resources, and the vast majority of people I'm hearing from are concerned about our healthcare situation, and that the ACA does not go far enough, and they can't afford it, and that they're on the verge of losing their homes, and that they're stressed and struggling, wondering what are they going to do in order for their families to survive. I see my role to bring solutions to healthcare, to education, and to building an economy that truly works for everyone in our part of the state.
Okay. Thank you, Jess. I'm so glad you could come in, and wish you a safe campaign.
Excellent. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a good and have fun.
We will.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidate. Spokane Talks thanks our community-minded partners, Greater Spokane Incorporated, the Ponderosa Republican Women's Club, We Believe We Vote, and Better Spokane for helping make Meet the Candidate possible.